Picture this. A 5-year-old gets told, "You're too sensitive," after crying. Fast forward 20 years. That same person now sits in a therapist's office, unable to express emotions in relationships, wondering why they feel so broken inside. Here's what terrifies me. It's not the childhood trauma that leaves visible scars. It's the invisible kind. The sentences that sound like discipline but act like poison. Harvard's Center on the Developing Child found something shocking. 45% of all psychiatric disorders in adults trace back to childhood emotional abuse. Even more disturbing? A 20-year study revealed emotional abuse can be more damaging long-term than physical abuse. So here's the question nobody wants to ask. What if the most damaging thing your parents ever did wasn't what they hit you with, but what they said to you? What if those words are still running your life right now? The invisible scars of childhood. Look, we all grew up hearing certain phrases, right? Maybe you brushed them off. Maybe you thought it was just tough love. But here's what researchers at Harvard Medical School discovered, and this is wild. The words parents use can literally rewire a child's brain. We're talking about long-term depression, anxiety, and self-esteem issues that stick around like unwanted house guests. Today, we're diving deep into the toxic phrases that seem harmless but are actually psychological grenades. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll never look at parenting advice the same way again. The hidden damage of parental words. Let's start with the classics. You've heard these before. You're too sensitive. Why can't you be more like your brother? I'm disappointed in you. Sounds familiar? Here's the problem. According to a study published in the journal Child Development, these phrases don't motivate kids. They destroy them from the inside out. When you tell a child they're too sensitive, you're basically teaching them. Their emotions are wrong. You're training them to suppress what they feel. And guess what happens 20 years later? Hello, therapy bills. But here's where it gets really intense. Research from the NIH shows that children exposed to frequent verbal aggression, like insults, yelling, or constant criticism, exhibited higher levels of physical aggression and delinquency. It's not just words, it's programming. Celebrity stories that prove trauma doesn't discriminate. Now you might be thinking, come on, everyone deals with this stuff. But let me tell you about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yeah, the guy who looks like he bench presses mountains for breakfast. When The Rock was just 5 years old, his father, Rocky Johnson, would take him up to the rooftop and literally punch him like a punching bag. His dad called it tough love, teaching him to be a man. But here's what The Rock said decades later. That relationship was complicated and filled with regret. They had their final falling out over a book his father wrote, and they never reconciled before Rocky's death in 2020. The Rock's story isn't unique. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history, struggled with ADHD and severe depression, partly because of the pressure and emotional turmoil from his childhood. His parents divorced when he was 7, and he felt like he had to be in the middle of everything. That constant need to prove himself? That came from somewhere. Even Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time, has opened up about her father Richard's unconventional methods. While he helped shape her career, his strict, controlling approach left lasting marks. She's only recently begun to process as a mother herself. Success doesn't erase the scars, it just hides them better. Break the cycle. Choose better words. So what are the other toxic phrases you need to watch out for? Stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. This teaches kids to fear their own emotions. It's emotional terrorism. plain and simple. You're the reason I'm stressed. Congrats, you just made a child responsible for your mental health. That's a burden no kid should carry. Why can't you do anything right? Psychology Today found that shaming children damages their self-worth and creates adults who are terrified of failure. They don't try new things because they're convinced they'll mess it up anyway. And here's the kicker. A Harvard study on harsh parenting showed these kids are more likely to become aggressive, defiant, and struggle with emotional regulation. The words you think are discipline, they're actually planting seeds of dysfunction. Call to awareness and healing. So here's the truth. Your words don't just disappear into thin air. They become the inner voice that tells a child whether they're worthy, capable, or loved. If you heard these phrases growing up, listen to me. It wasn't your fault. You deserved better. The wound is real, but so is your power to heal it. And if you're a parent, or ever plan to be one, you have a choice right now. Break the cycle. Here's what I need you to do. Think of one phrase that wounded you as a child. Now, imagine the child you were. What did that child need to hear instead? Write it in the comments below. Not for me, for you. For the child inside you who's still waiting to hear those words. This isn't just about awareness. This is about breaking generational trauma, one sentence at a time. If this video made you see your childhood differently, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because somewhere right now, there's a parent about to say something they can't take back. And maybe, just maybe, this video will stop them. Subscribe for more psychology that changes lives, not just minds. And remember, words are weapons or medicine. Choose wisely.